In the year 2063, bad things people have done to the Earth have caused the sea levels to rise. Most of the Earth is now underwater at this point. There are only 2 countries left, and they are at war because they want land and wealth. In the middle of the ocean between Africa and Europe, the Sentinel is a military base with a crew of 4 soldiers who are getting ready to leave to get angry or upset. Their contract finished 3 months ago after they had worked for them for 2 years. The people who will help them haven't come to get them yet. There isn't much food left, so on a very stormy night, the 2 friends decide to go fishing. They do well and fill their big net, which is a surprise with a lot of traps. Hendrix, who is in charge, sees that the storm is getting worse. He doesn't want to get hurt, so he asks Baines to take care of the big bomb that protects the Sentinel. When soon the waves start to get bigger and rougher, which affects the outpost pipes. Baines runs away, trying to fix them. He gets his hand stuck and has to fight underwater for a few minutes until he is able to free it. He can finally get away. The waves outside take the net away, and the 2 people lose their catch. Sullivan tries to grab something else, but the wind is getting too strong and dangerous, so he gives up. Has to hurry back inside before he too is taken away. Everyone gets back just in time before, when the huge wave hits the building, it shakes and water comes out of every opening. But when it's all over, the Sentinel is still standing. The next day, the group talked about how to lower the resources that were being used up while they ate military food for breakfast. Baines wonders what happened to the fish, and when he hears that they were lost, he gets angry. Sullivan gets back at him by Baines was made fun of because he used bits from his kitchen to fix the major pipes. An argument ensues and Hendrix tells them to act like adults and asks them to focus on fixing the ship. Baines asks why they don't ask for help quickly, but Hendrix tells him that they can send a message. It's only to make reports. After that, Sullivan uses the telegraph to send in the daily report. He tells the base that nothing has happened, and the base says that nothing has happened there either, same as it has been for a few months. After a while, Sullivan goes outside and meets Hendrix. Sullivan looks at the sea through the binoculars while making jokes about their air dancer. He's surprised. Cassidy checks the radar and confirms that a ship is coming up behind them. Sullivan he's happy because he thinks it's the end of the war, but Hendrix is suspicious and tells Baines to bring him a gun. A few guns just in case it's an enemy. Cassidy tries to get in touch with the ship, but she doesn't hear back. Hendrix chooses to give the ship a chance because of this. He gives a gun to Sullivan and tells him to take the boat to meet the ship and make sure there are no enemies to worry about. Sullivan takes off right away and goes up to the ship, calling out to anyone who might be on board. But still, there's no answer. With his gun ready, Sullivan got on the ship and started shooting. He starts to get angrier as he looks for signs and finds them. Dirt is all over the things. The radio doesn't work, and there's food in the cabinets that haven't been eaten. Hendrix tries to call him for a report on how things are going, but Sullivan ignores him as he finds 4 bags for them. This was, they should have been happy, but something happened to the crew and they vanished. Opportunity to go home. Hendrix thinks Sullivan was struck because he doesn't answer, so he wants to shoot the ship before it gets close to the Sentinel. He tells Cassidy that he needs one of the keys. When she hesitates, he tells her that this is how things are done. Along with this, Hendrix starts to set off the bomb with his own key, but before he shoots, he tries to get in touch with Sullivan. One last time. This time, though, Sullivan does answer, so the attack is stopped. However, Hendrix tells Cassidy that he is holding both of her keys as a punishment when she asks for them back, for her unwillingness to do what she was told. Sullivan then pulls the ship to the Sentinel. While Hendrix continues to look into the ship, Sullivan and Cassidy meet up again, for a few minutes making out to make up for the scary thing that just happened. Several hours later, while the team is taking a quick salt bath, Baines tells them about everything he's done to get things off the ship. He is also certain that this was a release and that the engine hasn't worked in a long time. Months. Hendrix won't let Sullivan send a message to the base until they have more information. Even if this does count as an event, it doesn't make any sense as a whole. The group is getting tired and wary of Hendrix's attitude, especially when they see that he has both keys now. After taking a shower, Hendrix looks at the ship's past routes and writes down all that he gets their locations, and goes back to the Sentinel to put them on a map so he can follow their journey. While this is going on, Cassidy and Sullivan talk about what the world must be like since they haven't been there. Not seen in 2 years. Sullivan says he sent a message to Hendrix without telling him, so they'll have to talk about it. A response tomorrow. The next morning, Hendrix wakes up to find his 3 troops waiting next to him in a strange way. To the wire, and Baines says what's really going on. Hendrix plans to tell them off about it, but at that time the machine gets a response. The group is excited until they read what it says. Sullivan sent the exact same message last night. Then they finally figure out that they haven't been in touch with the base for a long time, and the computer has only been sending back no messages. Sullivan sends a today's events message every day. Hendrix is still working with the numbers. Baines starts sneaking onto the ship with a plan in mind after he finds the map. Sullivan catches a fish one night. Him coming back, but Baines won't talk about it. Both of them end up having a drink. Baines tells him some stories about his family back home, if their home is still there at all. Baines says all of a sudden that he thinks he can fix the ship. With the hope of getting away, Sullivan is quick to tell Cassidy the news and asks her to come to live with him, in one of the safest places left on the continent, but Cassidy is scared and won't go. Trust what she's being told. The next day, Sullivan and Baines sneak onto the ship to help fix it, the engine, and they work together to get the job done. When they go outside, they find Hendrix is ready for them, and he tells them to take the ship apart so that they can use its parts to fix the Sentinel. He won't let them leave because he says it's their job to stay, no matter what. If their agreement is over, Sullivan doesn't want to die here like other people have in the past. Even though Baines agrees, Cassidy doesn't back them up when she joins them. Don't care Hendrix tells the team to fix the damage and threatens them with his gun. If they don't, they do not listen. The guys are angry and worried that Hendrix has been too quick to pull the gun lately. So Cassidy offers to be the next person to talk to him. Cassidy tells Hendrix that she knows how he feels after he's been hurt. He lost his last group, but leaving isn't the same as dying. It's the best thing for him. Meanwhile, Sullivan and Baines are wondering if they will have to fight their boss to get what they want. They need. Hendrix interrupts their talk and says that Cassidy has made a good case. Since they can't talk, someone should go back to the base and tell them. 2 people should go, and 2 others should stay. Hendrix is clearly staying, and Cassidy has offered to take his place. To also stay here. Baines is happy about this, but Sullivan is very sad about it. Moments later, Sullivan talks to Cassidy alone and tries to persuade her to come too, by getting rid of Baines or not listening to Hendrix. He wants her to be happy so much that he's even willing to pay, to take her place or stay here with her, but Cassidy snaps at him and tells him she doesn't love him. She has only thought of him as something that people need. Sullivan, who is upset, runs out of the room. Then Cassidy starts crying. That night, Sullivan and Baines work hard on getting ready to leave. Hendrix gives Sullivan a letter to take back to the base. He also says that the enemy is getting stronger. Soldiers who just want to protect their homes, just like them. Sullivan reminds Hendrix even though they could all leave at once. Hendrix still won't let them because he says someone needs to stay. Keep an eye on the bomb. After that, Hendrix goes to finish his work on the plan and the locations. The rescue ship has been steering away from the Sentinel on purpose, which is a shocking thing to find out, which doesn't make sense. Hendrix goes to check on Cassidy because he thinks something is wrong, but he doesn't dare say something. The next morning, when the team wakes up, another alarm is going off. The radar has picked up a ship. The men move quickly to get in place to defend the Sentinel. Cassidy tries to call the ship but is unable to do so. This time, Hendrix won't send anyone and tells his team to shoot, but their first shot goes wide. While they're preparing, Cassidy sees that their ship is missing when he goes to reload. At the same time, Sullivan and Baines finally get to be able to see it clearly once the fog has gone away. They won't shoot again, but by the time Cassidy gets there and comes to warn them, it's too late. Hendrix has his gun out and shoots Baines. It was Hendrix who told me last night that he put the ship back out, and to prove he's serious, he shoots the air dancer. Baines still won't let Hendrix destroy the ship, so Hendrix shoots Baines in the ear. So Sullivan takes the gun and uses it to destroy the ship before anyone gets hurt. A very angry Baines tries to go after Hendrix, but Cassidy uses a fire extinguisher to knock him out first. Afterward, Hendrix is locked up in the kitchen by Sullivan and Cassidy takes back both keys. A very angry later, Baines looks for Hendrix to kill him, but when he does, he hits Sullivan. Halt him. Cassidy talks to him to calm him down, but Baines still goes away to get drunk and move by himself. His stuff, which makes him cry. Later, Cassidy says that Hendrix needs to take an iodine dive, but Baines won't let him out, and he quits his job. Cassidy, Sullivan tells her that they have no choice but to try every single telegraph route until they find one that works. Cassidy uses the chance to say that what she said about him was not true. All she had wanted him to leave without worrying about her. But Sullivan isn't sure if he should take it. Later in the afternoon, Sullivan brings food to Hendrix and asks why he changed his mind about going away. Hendrix tells what he found out about the rescue ship from the coordinates. It was meant to be here 3 months ago, but something made it leave. This shows that there is a rogue among them who wants the bomb. Sullivan doesn't believe him, so he locks the door behind him. The door once more. The rest of the day, Sullivan sends So's texts to every station. Baines keeps drinking and works in his shop to keep himself busy, but he soon goes crazy and breaks down everything he has made. Cassidy shows Sullivan a picture later that night, her as a child with her family, and told her that the enemy had killed them when she was still a child. Baines finds Cassidy sleeping in the communications room the next morning, as he says stupid things about a lost future He strikes Cassidy in a way that makes it look like he wants to use her. Cassidy pushes him away after a fight, but she doesn't know that Baines has taken the keys. Then Cassidy goes to find Sullivan to tell him what happened, but just then Baines' voice comes over the radio. Can be heard through the speakers saying that he's going to set off the bomb. Cassidy and Sullivan rush back to the communications room and try to calm him down by bringing up his family. Living! When Baines steps away from the controls, he cries, but when Cassidy takes the keys back, Baines says he forgot the last number of the code to turn on the computer. Sullivan says it's time to give up. Hendricks is gone, but Baines has shocking news. He tried to kill him earlier, but when he came in, he didn't know what to do. Hendricks was not in the pantry. A window that was open meant that he had given up. When Cassidy and Sullivan check the kitchen, they are shocked to find that Baines was telling the truth. Not Sullivan reads the letter Hendricks sent to the base so he can deal with his sadness. He is surprised to see that Hendricks had asked for his leadership to be stretched, and he doesn't know why. After that, Cassandra shows Sullivan the clean studio to prove that Baines is feeling better and is back in the building. Baines says that his wife was pregnant, but he never met the baby. This makes Sullivan angry. To easily forget what he said when he was drunk, Baines gives a hug as a sign of thanks before getting on the boat to go back to saving things from the sea. He's taking Cassidy with him, so, just in case, Sullivan gives her a gun, and Cassidy kisses him to thank him. Moments later, Sullivan decides to go fishing again. When he pulls up the net, he finds the dead body of Hendricks, with a cut on his head, which means he was killed, and there is a real spy among them. While Sullivan runs to look at the faces of his friends for hints, while Cassidy stares at Baines in the boat, putting a plan together. Next, Sullivan looks at Hendricks' map and makes a guess based on what he sees. As when a storm starts to come, Sullivan checks the signal outside to make sure it can be turned off. Change places. This means that someone in the boat took the light away and got the ship to follow them. Instead of going to the Sentinel, the locations were given. Someone then killed the Comfort team and just let the ship go. A few hours later, Cassidy is the only one to return from the little trip saying that Baines fell and died by accident while trying to get some plastic. Sullivan. He thinks she killed him and was the enemy the whole time, but he's too afraid to say so. Anything yet. Cassidy wakes up the next morning alone in her bed. Sullivan only talks to her by the walkie-talkie saying that he knows she killed everyone and is working for the enemy. He won't give her the bomb, though. Then Cassidy realizes she doesn't have the keys, so she runs to the communications room, where Sullivan is in the middle of setting off the bomb. Since they have nowhere to go, he doesn't mind if the Sentinel blows up while they're still inside. Cassidy tries to tell Sullivan that people in her home country are hurting while he has a gun to her head. She didn't like lying to him, but Sullivan didn't believe her, so he set off the bomb. However, instead of blowing up, the machine shows a funny saying that Baines liked to say over and over. This makes them understand that Baines changed the way the bomb works so that it can't be used to hurt anyone. Sullivan and Cassidy talk a bit at the end. They both agree that no matter which side wins the war, they will both protect the Sentinel and keep on living. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more movie recaps. See you in the next one.